when I came into this into logistics, I put a goal out that I wanted to be at $100 million of revenue within 5 years. Why that? Because I learned that the kind of the standard profit margin is 15%, right? So
Hmm.
15% of 100 million is 15 million. Um, when I was playing ball, I made $15 million over those 12 years. But early on in my career, I always said that once I get done playing ball, I'll make more money playing ball. I'll make more money outside of playing football than I made playing football. So that's
Hmm.
how that goal kind of came about of that 5 year, 100 million in revenue.
So yeah, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and a little bit of your background, that would be great.
Yeah, so my name is Desmond Clark. Most people know me from playing in the NFL for 12 years, 8 years in Chicago. So I really call Chicago my alumni team. That's where I retired at. But I grew up in Lakeland, Florida, live in Orlando, Florida now. And after I got finished doing a bunch of things after playing football, I have settled into this role in logistics. Now, a lot of people ask me, how did I get there? And we could talk about that later, but it was coincidence. It was a little bit of just networking, but I have found the perfect industry to match my skill set where I believe I can be the most successful. So that's me in a nutshell. Other than that, hey, fire away at all the questions that you may have.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited for this. Bob, do you have any questions right now? Because I know Bob has a lot of questions blowing
Well,
up.
I'm gonna start again where we were starting. How much profit do you guys make? What's the profit margins, you know?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I could tell you our profit margins, and we talked about this a little bit before, and I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to say it. Right now, our company has a 23% profit margin, right?
Oh,
And that's
okay.
that's on the higher side, and it's something that we are proud of because we feel like what our customers are happy with the product that they're getting, and then we have very happy carriers too. Like we don't necessarily short our carriers. You know how people say that. We negotiate a fair price and we try to be fair with everybody, because we want those carriers to keep coming back, right? And as I
Yeah.
said, before we got started, I have a rule personally that I never count anybody else's money, right? If the carrier
Yeah.
needs to get paid and we only make 3% on that load because they needed to get paid on that load, then that's what we negotiated. They left off happy. We took the price that they said that they had to have, and everybody got the job done. So as long as everybody is getting the job done for the people who they supposed to be getting the job done for, then I call that good business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
See, I'm all for like win-win situations. I'm kind of the same way, and I don't try to count anybody's, thing. But I feel like there is a time where it kind of flips where it's like right now I feel like, well, I know the brokers are getting squeezed from their side too, from their customers
Absolutely.
and their shippers. I hear this all the time. People are like, we're literally fighting for these loads, we're literally doing this. So I get it, but like, I mean, we have from our side, right? We have a trucking company. Our like operating cost is say 220, 230 per mile, with insurance being super high, with drivers needed to get paid. There's so much stuff that goes into it in the investment that you need, and then you have brokers kind of offering just like ridiculous rates. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense. And sometimes we talk to these brokers and they're like, well, this is what our customer is paying on our side. And we're like, well, why are you taking it? Why are you taking that kind of load where it's not like it's going to be not only super hard to sell? I mean, maybe some
Right.
some some carrier is going to take it, but in another way, it's like whoever takes it, they're going to lose money. They're really going to lose money taking it. So that's, I think, where it's like a battle where, I don't know, like how low
No,
can you go for.
Bob, and that makes total sense, right? So
Yeah.
we're not a big outfit, right? We only have
Yeah.
7 people in our office, and that's something that I stress. hey, let's go after good customers. Let's go after customers that they're not necessarily just looking for the cheapest rate. They also value the service that we put in. They value that, hey, every load that we broker out, they're going to get 3 check calls a day to make sure everything is moving the right way. And then those check calls are going to go upstream back to the carrier reps and back to our account managers to make sure that, hey, if there is a problem, we're going to get in front of the problem. We're not going to call you as a customer and say, oh, we have a problem. No, we're going to call you as a customer and say, hey, this is what's going on. Here's what we're doing about it. And here's what you can expect, right? Those things we feel like are very, very valuable because not every broker is going to give you that type of communication and just hands-on service. So we look for those customers that can appreciate that and are willing to pay a good price so we can pay a good carrier for the service.
Sure. See, we need more people. We need more brokers like you, and we need more customers like that because we have these mega brokers that are coming in and they're just running everything through online. They're getting the people out of the thing, and they're just bringing the rates down. That's what I feel like is happening.
I'm going to bring my perspective in here as being a freight broker for over 6 years. Like when if a shipper offers you a load, it's so difficult to say no to it, especially if you're like, for example, Bob, you're saying that companies are going to lose money on it. Like it doesn't make sense to take, but like a broker's going to take that thinking they're going to make something on it. So if they can make something on it, like, hey, everyone's trying to stay afloat, whether you're big or small, like everyone's trying to make money at the end of the day. And so it's supply and demand, like this, it's the state of the economy. Like if you're not going to take it, maybe someone else will, but if no one takes it, then I have to raise my price,
Yeah. And I'm not blaming the brokers at all technically for it, because technically it's actually the carriers that should be the ones to blame because they're the ones that are taking it, like if you guys want to see a change, if you guys want actually better rates, stop taking this cheap stuff, lay the drivers over. Or don't take it at all, or get out of the business, do something else. But I feel like they're kind of all these like, I don't even know. I really don't know who's taking some of this stuff because like today, it seemed crazy. Like everything, it's hard to get anything even over like $2 a mile, and I'm like, who's doing this stuff? So and then they just ruin it for everybody because now not only are the brokers thinking that's normal, the customers are like, oh, well, we moved this for this much, so this should be a normal thing. And then it's like, eventually it will level itself out because it is supply and demand. So like the people will get out of the business. Whoever doesn't survive, I get that. But it's like, come on, people, like how low do you need to go? So
I actually seen a load coming out of Florida, and coming out of Florida, you can't get anything coming out of Florida.
Yeah.
But it was actually paying 77 cents a mile going all the way to South Carolina. And I'm like, holy shit, like who would even think about taking that load?
Yeah.
But they didn't post it because they didn't think anybody was going to take it. They posted it thinking somebody was going to take it.
Yeah.
And somebody probably did take it. So that's one side of it, right? Why would you even take that? But the other side of it, and we know this as being freight brokers, we have to educate our customers. And that's something that we try to do a lot. Hey, this is why we charge this price, because you want to have a good carrier, right? And we're not trying to come over here and make all of this money. Like we want to be around at least a 10 to 15% margin on every load that we broker out. That's just what we want to be. But if we could sell to our customer while we're charging what we're charging, that may be $200 more than what somebody else that you want to pay. And we could break that down to you and make you understand, well, now when we come and deliver, now everything is good and they're willing to pay a little bit more. We've won an exclusive client just over the last 2 months because every time they said that, oh man, we're going to give it to somebody else because it's $100, $150 cheaper. Half of the time they came back to us and say, hey, can you guys get this done? And you know what we did? Yeah, it's not going to be $150 more. It's going to be $300 more now because we told you from the beginning. And you know what they did? They stopped going to everybody else and started coming directly to us. And now we could charge them a fair price for the service that we give them. And now we can go out and pay a carrier, a good, reputable carrier, a good, decent price also.
Definitely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I really want to get into like Desmond's story because I feel like he's got a fascinating story. So Bob, if you want to go real quick, but I do want to start getting the ball rolling from like kind of like move back a little bit in terms of like his
Yeah,
NFL
yeah, I was gonna say the
career.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
was gonna say the same thing. But what I was just gonna mention before we kind of backtrack is that actually kind of happens the same to us, like with a carrier, right? We do a certain load with a certain broker, and they're paying us say $2,000. Then they find a cheaper option for $1,600 or 18.
Mm-hmm.
Then whoever the next carrier, they screw it up. They screw it up bad for that 16 or 18, and next thing you know, they're calling you back in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Hey, can you take this load again? And it's like, so you tried to kind of take a cheaper carrier, and now you're begging us to take it for you because we were actually reliable. We were getting it delivered on time.
Right.
We didn't freaking put 3 loads together in one trailer. We were just running it out all one in one. So yeah, that happens on our side too. So yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
definitely.
if you want to, that's a good idea to maybe swing back a little bit. Kind of, if you can tell
Definitely.
us how'd
Uh,
you get into freight brokerage? Like that's crazy.
yeah, I definitely want to. On top of that, like, can you tell us a little bit about your experience in the NFL? There's a big Chicago community that follows us, so definitely a lot of people are going to be interested. From your time at the Bears and how your experience in the NFL prepared you to like run a business, be in the freight industry, and then how did that transition look like from being an NFL player to a motivational speaker and now starting Bear Down Logistics? Can you kind of just like, I guess, take us back and then like kind of like build up for us to like see like how it all like
Right.
like started.
Yeah. And I started playing football when I was 6 years old. And I played football every single year to the age of 34. Like, there's not very many people in the world that can say that and say that they played professional football. But the things that I learned playing this sport over the course of time really made me who I am today. The discipline, the willingness to get my ass kicked and still come back, and you have to fight another day, and you got to go up against the same person that kicked your ass, and you're gonna keep getting
Yeah,
your ass kicked unless you get better. Having that type of work ethic, and then learning how to work with a team, learning, hey, we may not see eye to eye on everything, but when we have one common goal, one common agenda, you learn how to put those differences aside and pull from the same side of the rope. All like it's so many things playing this game that I've learned that I know people that play team sports, they have an advantage out here in the real world because
Hmm.
of everything that you have to go through and the different people that you have to deal with in order to accomplish a goal. I know they have an advantage. And now the thing that I brought from the football field over to the industry is logistics is very process oriented. You're doing the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again, right? There may be different it may be different freight or a different type of, hey, this is a van, this is a dry bed or whatever it is, but essentially it's so process driven, and that's one of the things that draw me into it. Once you get your processes and your systems all put together, now it's all about finding the right people to drive those processes and systems. That's football, man. It's all right, we got a playbook, we got a way that we implement our plays every week against different opponents, right? Because you got different
yeah,
cargo, you got different this. That's a different opponent. But every week we're doing the same thing just for a different opponent.
yeah.
And we
Hmm.
prepare like that. And that's when I learned about this business, that's when I thought, hey, I can be really good here. Because once I can understand the systems and the processes and then understand the game of logistics, I thought we'll be able to dominate. And right now we're on that type of trajectory.
Oh,
That's
awesome.
cool.
How old were you when you went to the NFL?
I was 22.
22. Dang, that's young.
Yeah,
Is that like a
that's
normal age to go into 22 to NFL,
yeah.
or is that?
You go to college, you play 3-4 years in college, and yeah, when you come out of college, you're a rookie in the NFL at around 21, 22,
That's
3 years
that
old.
that's like a huge thing because I read somewhere where it's like the chances to get into the NFL or the NBA is like insane. Like it's literally insane to get in there. So that's
Yeah.
wild.
0.0001% or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then to
I just
play for 12 seasons, I mean, that's just
Yeah,
even,
yeah.
point zero. I had like five more zeros than
exactly.
that. Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that the average career in the NFL is less than 4 years.
Oh
Wow.
wow. Yeah, I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And you played in the one of the Paul said that you played in the Super Bowl. I just started getting into football like 3 years ago. Like I literally did not, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I did not know anything about because I was more of like I wasn't really a sports type of person. But
Yeah.
then I watched one Super Bowl with Tom Brady where it was like the huge, like it was like a
They
last
came back
minute where they were supposed to lose and then they won. I don't know which Super Bowl that was. Like it was like
against
4 years ago or something.
it was against Atlanta Falcons. They were down
Yeah.
28
Yeah.
points and they came back and won their game.
Yeah, yeah, that one. And then after that, that's when I started getting into it because I'm from Rochester, New York, and like Buffalo Bills is like kind of my team. So I'm like now I'm like kind of more into it, and I actually do like enjoy it. I watch it all the time. So that's
Nice.
awesome. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Absolutely. And you got a good team to cheer for up there in Buffalo.
I know,
well,
except this year they almost had it. They almost had it. They should have kept, but it's all right. Next year.
well, Desmond, so now I'm curious because you named your company Bear Down Logistics. Have you been utilizing, I guess, your fame and kind of your reputation to go get shippers in the Chicagoland area? Has that been
Yeah.
kind of like easy for you just to go and like get
It's
business
not
from?
easy. It's not
Okay.
easy, but absolutely, I use every bit of it. I name my name. I named the company Bear Down Logistics for a reason
It's
because
a cool
I
name
figured
though.
that hey, we got to bear down and we got to go get
Yeah.
this business. That's what I tell
Yeah.
people. That's
That's
what I
a
tell
really
my
cool name
guys.
actually. Yeah.
So I wanted to use everything that I was known for, right? Because it's the advantage that I have. So why would I give up the advantage? And Chicago is such a huge market, right? I could just prospect in Chicago alone and make the
Hmm.
business successful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I named it Bear Down Logistics. But so I can go back into the market and be like, hey, you remember me, Desmond Clark, play with the Bears, play with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Bear Down Logistics. Oh, I love that name. Okay, so now that you know the name and remember me, let me tell you about how I transitioned into the logistics industry, and I'm bringing that same focus, that same passion, that same playmaking ability to the
Hmm.
logistics industry that you knew me for on the football field. If you like me as a football player and you thought I was reliable as a football player, then you'll love me as a logistics broker because I bring that same reliability that I showed on the football field.
I love that. But that name might be a disadvantage in Wisconsin, right? Because all these Packer fans are not going to want to work with Bear Down Logistics. Have you had
Listen,
that experience?
we don't we don't move a lot of cheese anyway.
Okay. Well,
How
Chicago
long
is
how
a
long
huge
ago
enough
did
market where like I'm not sure
yeah.
just going to add to that because Chicago's literally like it's the largest city in the states without a port. So everything moves in with a truck and it's all the factories or manufacturers and shippers all over there and
Mm-hmm.
definitely if you were just to focus on Chicago, you could crush it as a freight broker.
Are you
Um,
focused more in Chicago or more in Florida area? Because you said you're out of Florida, right? Lakeland,
Yeah, so
Florida?
we're based in Florida, but you guys know that this travels, right?
yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter where your headquarters at. I do probably 80% of my marketing in the Chicagoland area, but hey, there's
Okay.
opportunity all around the United States. So
Yeah.
yeah, the majority of it, the heavy majority of it is Chicago.
Okay, cool.
My
And
my question. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Paul.
no, I just wanted to say like Chicago like just spreads across the United States. So you have large communities of Chicago, Chicago Bears fans in Florida, in Arizona. It's like I just wanted to add to that, like, that a lot of Chicago moves around the states.
Right. And then when
Yeah.
I'm out prospecting in different states, saying, "Hey, you remember me, Chicago Bear Down Logistics?" People are like, "What?" So it don't work everywhere else like it does in
Sure.
Chicago.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Bob?
My question is so how long ago did you start Bear Down Logistics? And also like how did you I mean like where do you even start? Like, do you do some research? You're like, hey, I'm gonna open up. Like, how did you start? Did you hear anything about freight before, or like,
Yeah.
did you just Google like, hey, how do I become a broker, and then start going from there? Because I'm not sure if you heard anything, if you had any family that was in the logistics business, or did you just start fresh and like, I'm gonna do all this research. I'm gonna go try to find my customers. Can you walk us through that? How you kind of managed to do
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah, so I was introduced to it by my partner, Brian Rice. He's the owner of Dre Depot. He
Okay.
specifically do drayage. That's his niche. He doesn't do anything else. But he has a long history of being, I mean, he's been in it for like 17 years now. So at the time, I was doing speaking and leadership training, doing a lot of stuff on LinkedIn, and that caught his eye. And he thought that we could work together doing some marketing stuff. So he approached me. We got to talking. We became fast friends. I was learning a lot about his business. And the question came up, if this is your niche, what about, the vans and the flatbeds and reefer and hazmat and oversized dimensional? Why don't you do any of that stuff? It's like, we have our opportunities, but I just want to stay here. And that's when the light bulb went off. All right, well, maybe I could start a company to capture all the other stuff that he was letting fall through the gaps. And it was at that point, if you want to do that instead of kind of working directly with me, hey, let's explore that. And that's when I became the YouTube expert. I'm looking at every YouTube video that I can, doing the research, trying to understand what does it take. And so that was June, July when we first met. By October, I opened up my business in October of 2021.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So about 2 years ago, right?
A year and a half.
2 years ago?
Year and a half ago.
Okay. And how did that look like the beginnings? What were like the struggles that you had to deal with, and like what were like the early successes that kind of like got you guys going? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'll first say I started my business on paper October 2021.
Okay.
I didn't, because I said, hey, if I'm gonna do this, I'm going to do it at the level that I do everything with. So I studied it for another 6-7 months, and then I finally got my MC in May of 2022.
Okay.
And that's when I was sitting in this very same spot over here. And that's when I started to do the business myself, trying to understand everything. And then it was August of 2022 when I hired my first employees. And the most amazing thing is this. I got up to $100,000 in revenue in short period of time, in like 3-4 months, like 4 months after I opened up. But I'm feeling like, man, I am struggling. Like, man, we're not making any money. Like, and then I get a bunch of people that I started talking to outside of the industry, and they're like, what? Like most freight brokers don't drive $100,000 in revenue a month. Like, you're doing really well. And that kind of caught me off guard, especially early on in the process. So I had a lot of success early on. It was when I started to scale a little bit is when I ran into some trouble, because now here I am, making, a good profit margin. I got revenue coming in. Things are going well. And I was like, okay, let's go from 2 employees to now we got 8 employees. And what I didn't assess is, I didn't assess the downside of, hey, what if these producers don't produce? So now I got stuck with a couple of producers that didn't produce, and I got this staff that I got to pay. And as we know, hey, it's been tough this first part of the year.
Yeah.
So now I started suffering those losses, not because the business model wasn't working, it's because I tried to get out and jump out too quick and try to scale too quickly.
There's a saying, it's called hire slow and fire fast. You got to go. And I think we're kind of in the same boat right now, because we were kind of growing, and now we're just like trying to stabilize, because we have more drivers that kind of want to join, and we have owner operators that want to join, but we don't have even the staff in the office. So we're like, hold up, step back, and just have all the systems in place, have everything in place, and then go above that. Because I feel like you can grow really fast, and then you could just fall really quick if you don't have, systems in place, if you don't have things in order, if you don't have the right staff in order, So right. That's kind of interesting that you said that, though.
And you don't have those go-getters to go out there and create business opportunities, right? Mm-hmm. You can have all of these trucks and everything, but if you don't have freight to move, it does you no good to have all these trucks and truck drivers.
Yeah, totally. And I know you mentioned this, Desmond, earlier about the processes like that. In football, it's all processes. You got the playbook. Can you kind of walk us through like the processes that you put in place at Bear Down Logistics to have like, all the, everything working properly?
Yeah. So, and I took that same kind of template as a football team, right? Everybody on a football team has their specialized job to do. And I know one of the things that I found out in this industry is that a lot of people do cradle to the grave. And I
What
felt
does that
like
mean?
that cradle to the grave is when I'm a broker and I got to go out and I got to be the account manager and bring in the loads. And then I got to book the loads. And then I got to cover the loads. And then I got to do all the check calls for the loads. And then once the loads get delivered, I got to do all the billing for the loads. So they taking it from beginning to the end. So that's what they call cradle to the grave.
Oh wow.
I
And
thought that
then,
was a huge disadvantage.
yep.
So
It,
what I
Yeah.
did is I built my company where I have four different areas of expertise. We have a salesperson. They're smiling and dialing. They want to get it in, right? They
Mhm.
bring companies to us. Once they bring those companies to us, they throw them over the wall to the account managers. Now it's up to the account managers to make sure that they are attentive to this account, know everything
Mhm.
about the account, and continue to grow that account. And when that person says, "Hey, we have shipments for you guys," now is up to that account manager to upload those shipments and then throw it across to the carrier reps. Once those things are uploaded, the carrier reps now take full ownership of it. They got all the notes, they got everything that they need in that shipment on our TMS to now go out and book that load. They go out and book that load, and once they book that load, they are absolutely I'm sorry, they book the load and then they see it through delivery. Once that
Wow.
load is delivered, they're absolutely done with it. Now operations, it's operations job to make sure that they're doing 3 check calls a day on every single load that we have out there. We got
Hmm.
micro point. Yes, we can see it, but we need to call the driver and say, "Hey, Mr. Driver, I just want to see how did the pickup go this morning." Oh, the pickup went well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, I'll check in with you later on today just to make sure everything is still going well. On the delivery, hey, I just want to call and see, hey, do we have a good ETA for the delivery today? Make sure that you're going to be on time. Oh, you're going to be a little bit late, man. Thanks for letting me know that. Now we go and call. Now we can go and let the account know, hey, the driver's going to be an hour and a half late. He ran into some traffic, whatever, and now,
Yeah.
hey, everything is there. So everybody, oh, and then the operations last piece is now collecting all of the paperwork from the carrier, uploading all that paperwork into the system and getting it out to our factoring company so now we can get paid for it. So now it's not one person that is overburdened with any part of this process. Everybody has their expertise that they have to have, I mean, down to a science. If you want to work at Bear Down Logistics, you got to have your job down to a science where there's no mistakes because you don't have, too big a piece of that pie that you have to
sure.
cover to make this whole thing go.
Definitely. And it's like Bob, it's like the assembly line. And Ford was the
Yeah.
Yes.
first one that like sort of the assembly line. And that's what like actually the reason why car prices like dropped drastically with Ford was because he had the assembly line where everyone had their own task and they just did that task. Whereas like Cradle to Grave is like you are in charge of every single function with that customer from start to finish. So that's just like the two differentiators, I guess. Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. Honestly, I'm like listening and I'm just so shocked, like how you kind of broke it down. I was like just thinking in my mind, I'm like, dude, you could sell this as a course, because you literally just broke it down. Like like for me, I didn't even know how that works because I'm never on the brokerage side, so I don't really know how that works. But like that's crazy how like that's really smart to just do that, and everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and you just pass it along, So
Right.
that's cool
And so all of
instead of
that,
just you
all of that
doing
stuff,
everything yourself.
and all of that stuff costs, right? So that's why when I say, hey, we make
Yeah.
a 23% margin, yeah, because we can talk to our customers and we can explain to them, hey, why we may
Yeah.
charge $200 extra on this load because that service is going to be impeccable.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's logistics. Shit happens and it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when it
Exactly.
happens, we're going to be all over it. You don't have to
Yeah.
worry about it. We're going to be all on top of it. We're going to let you know before you have to call us and be like, yo, where's our load? Or why did this load come here like this? That's never going to happen.
Question:
That's
How many times does a driver tell your guy that's calling for an update to screw off? Does
You
that
know
happen
what?
often or no?
It doesn't happen that often because we let them know from the beginning. Hey, we're a very hands-on company. Hey, we're gonna
Yeah,
call you 3 times and check in with you. We're not trying to call you and bug you. We just want to
yeah,
be in front of anything that can potentially happen, and we'll tell them. We'll call you, and the call is probably gonna take 30 seconds. Hey man, how you doing?
yeah,
How was
yeah,
it going? Everything is rolling nice. Boom. That's all we need to
yeah.
hear. Hang up the phone.
And it's Yeah, and it's crazy how I feel like what I've noticed how some drivers deal with that. Some drivers will be so pissed off for no reason. I'm like, dude, these people just want to ask for an update. Just it's like I would not care I mean, it gets annoying sometimes, but like when you drive, it's literally 30 seconds. You pick up the phone, you give an update, you put it down. It's not that big of a deal. But I feel like some people, I mean, when they get blown up, like TQL, where they kind of blow you up all the time, like, yo, where's my load? Where's this? Then I see why drivers are pissed off. But
But
for the most part, I don't think it's like a that big of a deal, to be honest.
but you know what, Bob? Here's the thing. It's the manner in which you call the drivers.
Yeah, yeah,
It has a lot to do that. If I'm saying, Bob, hey man, where's my load, man? Where you at? Instead of saying,
yeah,
Bob, man, hey, I just want to make sure your day is going all good and that everything is on track, man. Just want to call in, check in with you. And you're just gonna
yeah,
be like, oh man, I appreciate that, man. Everything's going
yeah,
good. Thanks for calling.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Sure.
would not mind a phone call from you. You seem like a really like cool and sweet, not like a sweet person, but like cool and mellow, like because there are like you're saying, some people will call and they're just like kind of pissed off on their end, and you're like, why are you like it's almost as if they're bugging
Negative
you.
energy.
So then it's literally the negative energy, and you just have like a positive energy about you. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that has a lot to do just with business, man. It's like in order for us to do business, I got to keep you happy. I got to keep
Right.
my customer happy. And then if I could keep both of you happy, I'm gonna be happy.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I feel like that's our responsibility. That's nobody else's responsibility. So that's just how I believe business is done. If we can have a win-win-win on every side, then man, we're doing great business.
Definitely.
Exactly. I wish more
Uh,
people thought like that.
well, maybe from when they listen to this podcast, it might change their mind a little bit. But
Hopefully.
Desmond, so I have a question. So you started off essentially in May 2022, almost a year ago with the MC. You got locked in, and then can you tell us about like your tech stack as a freight broker? I do have to, I mean, give a shout out to Alvis because they actually got us connected. I know Alvis
Yeah.
very well. Great people over there. We've hung out at a couple conferences. Can you kind of tell us what your technology like looked like in the beginning, and then how it's kind of progressed since then as you've grown as a company?
Right. And I think this is like the future of the business, right? You gotta have tech technology to be able to do this job, good technology to be able to do this job at a high level. So without mentioning any names, my old TMS, I think it was good for me at the start, but as I evolved, I just felt like, man, there's so many things that can be better, especially the automation part of it.
Hmm.
Because we had to go do this and do this manually and then go look over here just to find, and it became like it wasn't an easy flow. I went to Alvis and they walked us through their system, and I was blown away about the ease of it, and then also the automation of it. Like a lot of stuff, we just got to hit a button, and there you go. You hit that button, and MicroPoint is sent out there. You hit this button right here, and then you send an email to the people that owe you paperwork, or they can just get on the app for Alvis, click their own paperwork, and it automatically uploads. Our customers, we can give them a code, and they can watch their own freight across America, just like we can. And when we're doing billing, like through QuickBooks, if once we send that bill out and it gets paid, it updates automatically. We don't have to go in and then upload something else to QuickBooks to show that it's been paid. It's done automatically through Alvis. So I love Alvis. I see them as a partner. The other thing with them is that the support is great, and I sound like a commercial for Alvis right now, and I don't mind that because when I send something to their support staff, oh man, they get it done. Like they get it
Yeah.
done quickly, and you don't get that from what I hear from a lot
Exactly.
of PMS providers. I didn't get it from my first one. I would tell them a problem that I was having, and I wouldn't hear back from them for 2 days, and I have to call them and be like, "Yo, I need y'all to get this fixed. I'm
Yeah.
trying to company to run." And the most amazing thing with Alvis is that they didn't have a feature on their platform that we absolutely use all the time. And we told them, hey man, we got to have this. Within 2 weeks, they built the whole thing.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
They built the whole thing and said, here you go.
That's
and at
amazing.
that point, I was like, I love you guys. I will never leave you.
So what is Alvis? It's basically a TMS software for
Yes.
brokerage, I'm guessing.
For trucking
And,
companies and
and, for, and for
brokerage.
carriers. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah.
I don't now I can't speak for the carrier side. I can only speak
Yeah.
for the broker side. So I just put that disclaimer out there.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. Desmond, have you ever thought about getting any trucks?
I have. And every time I thought about it, it's like, nah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Oh man. It's too
It's
much
all,
stress.
it's funny because like right before this, we had like a short podcast with like questions from our Instagram followers about freight factoring, and we were talking to the CEO of Basic Block, and like Bob just looked so sad on the call, and I'm like, Bob, what's going on, man? He's like, dude, it's been a rough day today, and then Bob ate some cake in between our two interviews, and the cake has some alcohol in it, and he's smiling now, so he's doing well.
It's not like really alcohol. It's basically it's called piana vishnya in Ukrainian. It's a Ukrainian cake, but they add a little bit of, like I think
Vodka.
that it's like it's vodka or some kind of bourbon or something in it. But our accounting girl, her mom bakes cakes and she always like brings a cake in. So
So
I
Bob's a
think it's
lot
not
happier
I
now.
don't think yeah, I think it's just the sugar and stuff, and it's end of the day. So yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I need to get one of those cakes. But going back
Her
to
mom takes orders. But yeah, go ahead.
I've thought about adding on assets only because early on and still right now, we get turned down because we don't have assets, right? People
Interesting.
want a lot of these companies want brokers with assets. So that's the reason why I thought about it. I'm trying to come at this industry from a different angle since I'm not a person that, hey, I grew up in it and I've been in it for 20 years. I try to look at things a little differently and see how I could do things differently, where it's going to bring on like a fresh new outlook, but also one that's going to bring something good to the industry. I've tried to have conversations with smaller asset-based carriers or logistics providers. It hasn't materialized yet, but somewhere down the line, I'm going to find somewhere to make it work where I don't have the responsibility of having assets, but I'm partnering some type of way with an asset. Yeah. That's what I'm really looking
let's
for.
Go. We're looking for partners.
This
So
could be it.
if you find a good shipper anywhere out of Charlotte area or going into Charlotte, we're your people. Because we're definitely looking for
when I call you Bob, I don't want to hear no, oh well, we gotta I don't know. I was like, I got some ties in Carolina. I went to Wake Forest. So it's only the time I started to use that connection also in Carolina.
Yeah. No, but we actually are. We don't mind that at all. And we actually went on a call with a different one and with a different guy, and he actually kind of mentioned this where it's like you should, like, he kind of told me that, like, he's like, you should go and ask for like direct, to the shippers directly, because you're an asset-based company technically, so maybe some people want to work with you directly instead of like using a third-party broker or something. So I was like, that's kind of a good idea, but I'm not very good at sales, I'm not very good at going and talking.
I think you're really good at sales.
That's kind of like,
you just think you're not.
I don't know.
I think you're really good at sales.
For me, it's like I have to own this, like, I don't know. It's weird.
I think it's
it's like,
Bob, you'll be great at sales, Bob.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Sales is nothing but having a conversation. And obviously, you wouldn't be doing this podcast if you couldn't have a conversation. Like, people think about sales as pitching all the time, pitching this and pitching that. I when I'm doing sales, I rarely pitch. anything.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
pitch myself. Here's
Mm-hmm.
who I am. Do you like who you see? Do you like the personality? Do you like the principles? Do you
Yeah.
understand, who I am? So if you can like and understand all of that, well, then you'll like my business also because it represents who I am as a person. So a lot of times, like I send out 60 letters a week, and in that envelope, they get that picture of the Chicago Bear. Of course, I got to use that. And
Yeah.
they get whatever I posted that week on LinkedIn, which I always write one thought leadership post a week. And then they get my summary sheet, but nowhere on that thing am I saying, "Hey, give me some freight. Hey,
Hmm.
man, do you have any of this or do you have any of that?" What I want them to come to learn is about me
Hmm.
and about
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
company.
That's very
And,
smart. That's
and as
very
they
smart, actually.
read those articles, it's like, that's interesting. I like his perspective on that because a lot of people they're not buying what you tell them. They're buying your thought process. They're buying your analytical nature um about how you solve a problem. That's what they're
Right.
buying.
And
Yeah.
I feel like with that perspective, you're kind of weeding out the people that are just money driven. That money that like lowest cost ever. They just care about like, let's book the cheapest carrier, let's book the cheapest broker. But in this way, you're kind of reaching out to shippers or to customers that care more about like the relationship and kind of like you said, your thoughts and your ideas, and your leadership. That's actually pretty cool. That's a really good idea.
So
Yeah.
for 2 years I did this when I was doing all speaking and leadership training, right? All I did was put out thought leadership stuff, and I just wanted people to understand how I did business and why I did business, that type of stuff. How I thought about leadership, how did I go about presenting material, that type of stuff. Everybody, I mean, how many trucking companies is it out here? It's a million.
Yeah.
Exactly.
How many
Yeah.
brokers out here? It's a million of them. So what's going to
Yeah.
separate you from everybody else is you, Bob.
Yeah.
It, that's
Yeah.
that's the that's
And
what's going to
I feel like
separate.
I'm not that special though
no,
to be
here's the
separated.
thing. Well, Bob, you think this way. I think there's a word for it called like imposter syndrome, kind of where like so.
Yes.
But here's the thing. So Bob has an Instagram following of over 140,000 people. He literally has been building out this
I just post memes.
profile. Been posting up, but he's been building up the profile. So he posts memes and funny clips and just kind of crazy videos and trucking and stuff. But he showcases himself all the time. And I've known Bob through Instagram, not personally, but through Instagram for over 3 years because I've been following him since I was a freight broker. And then I remember one day I was on DAT and I knew that it was his posting because he's been sharing on his Instagram. And I called him and I was like starstruck. I'm like, yo, Bob, you were on this USA transportation page? And he's like, yeah, that's me. I'm like, dude, no way. Like I follow you on Instagram. And ever since then, like I remember I was in Chicago one weekend and he was in Chicago. I'm like, dude, we gotta meet up. I gotta see you. Like I'm like, you're a celebrity, And like Bob's like, I'm not a celebrity. I'm like, dude, people in trucking love you. And like that's the funny thing is Bob downplays himself, but he literally, if he were just to go out, if you were about to go out to get some customers, you'd get customers left and right. Because I guarantee you, shippers are following you. I guarantee you, if you put yourself out there, brokers will give you better rates, 100%. So,
I mean, we were talking
Hey,
about kind of like why me being on this podcast and like that I'm good on this. I'm only good because of Paul. Paul, me and him, we're
uh,
comfortable with each other.
yeah.
So I'm like, I can talk more. Because for me, when I go and meet new people, it's kind of, I feel like it's hard. It's like, I need like an icebreaker, or something that's like kind of in between. But yeah,
so I'm looking down at my phone because now I want your Instagram.
it's,
What is it?
it's USA underscore transportation. It's just a bunch of stupid memes for
But
the
you know
most
what?
part.
It's a bunch of stupid memes that got a bunch of people following you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been building it up for like 7 years. So I started doing it when I was driving and I talked to because I drove for 7 years, and I started like, I talked to all my friends. I watched all the movies. I listened to all the music and I'm like, what's next? So let me just post everything that's going on, around me. And I started posting like while I was driving and stuff that was going on, stuff that was related to trucking. especially like memes. And I started like getting better and better at posting memes. But
No.
lately, it's been really tough because I feel like the trucking is taking over, like the trucking business is kind of taking over my life. So like I don't even have time to post memes or to create memes or to like my creative side is not like it's kind of lacking now, because I'm so like into trucking
Sure.
and trying to make this company more successful. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got another follower.
Well, that's when while you're at
Nice.
it, you could follow my page, Freight Caviar.
He's like, nah, I won't follow you.
I'm more on the freight broker side, more freight broker focused.
And that's Freight Caviar, right?
Yeah, so there might be a few
Yeah.
profiles that show up. It's just there's Freight Caviar Media, freightcaviar.news, but just the Freight Caviar is the main one. And somebody's Instagram.
No, Paul's page is really nice because it's more like legit, and I really like the way you run your page, Paul, because it's more legit and it's more like like I
It's
don't
my
know, more
full-time
like
job though.
professional. And yeah, that's true. And mine is just all over the place. Today I could be
Oh.
posting that I'm eating a cake, and tomorrow I could be posting like that I'm driving a truck or something on the stories,
But people
on the
like that.
timeline. I try to,
You have a
yeah,
personality. You're not afraid of talking to the phone and like talking to people, your audience. Like I don't like talking, like I'm like shy when I talk to the camera, and I've only put it out so many times. And like, whereas you're so natural with it, you just go talking to the camera, and people build a relationship with you that you don't even know. Like you have thousands of people know you and have built a relationship with you, like me, like
yeah.
before I met you, and like that was literally just because of social media. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of
it's,
what Desmond was talking about. You kind of just put out there, and then like he's putting out that letter, right, that you're sending out, and they kind of build up that thing with you, and they kind of want to know more about you. So
yeah,
that kind of makes sense. Yeah,
Man,
it's
I'm impressed by both of y'all on social media. Like
uh,
28K and 142K. Y'all need to give me some coaching on how to build up my Instagram.
oh, it's pretty easy. We'll do this on another podcast. It's not easy. It's actually hard work. People think it's easy, but if you want like real followers and like to be more active, it's doable though.
It
There's
takes
systems to
time,
do it.
and it's
Yeah, and it takes time.
patience, time, and it depends what niche you're trying to carve out. Like I've been doing it for 2.5 years, and I've always just been like freight brokers, and then dispatchers tag along, and some truck drivers because it's
Yeah,
all freight broker focused. And Bob's doing all like truck drivers and trucking companies and dispatching stuff, and
dispatching. Yeah,
yeah, like mostly
yeah.
dispatching. So like to carve out that niche, it took some time, but some people are more generic with their content, and if it was like just motivational speaking, that could go up, that could go viral much quicker than someone making a
Yeah.
freight broker meme. So
Well,
but
that is the content that I have, and I don't have near as many followers as you do. So,
we'll help you
uh,
out, Desmond. That's
no, but
definitely
here's the other thing is I'm getting ready to start Inside the Huddle with Bear Down Logistics.
wow.
So,
Okay.
and it's going to be all focused on the day-to-day happenings inside of a freight brokerage, and the craziness that
Mm-hmm.
goes on from day to day. I mean,
Oh.
so I'm right next door to CH Robinson in a shared
Uh-huh.
office space. And one day, my man, he had his head down, he was rubbing his eyes, and I was like, "Dude, you look like you're tired." He was like, "No, I'm trying not to cry in front of my guys." I was like, "Is it that bad?" He was like, "Dude, we just had a shipment that just got stolen." I was like, "How did a shipment
Oh
get
well.
stolen?" He said that somebody came in and impersonated somebody else with an MC number, this
Mm-hmm.
and that. Came in, got loaded up, took the whole truckload of stuff, and then the real driver showed up, and it was like, "Dude, we just gave the freight to somebody else."
Mm-hmm.
Now he's like, "I don't. How am I going to tell my customer that we don't have their freight?" I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
like that's
You want to know
crazy,
what? Yeah. But it's probably even a deeper story. It's probably got double brokered or triple brokered. So this
right?"
actually happens. I was actually talking to somebody. The way they do it, you have this carrier that's booking this load, right? He books that load for say $5,000 from CH Robinson going cross country. He then takes that load, posts it up on DAT for $7,000. He sells it to a different carrier, right? That carrier goes and picks it up. He's thinking he's getting $7,000. He picks up that load. Then he realizes that he just booked with a double broker because this is actually a CH Robinson load. So he literally takes that load and disappears. Or like he actually, and now
Well,
nobody can go after him.
there's
CH Robinson can't go after him. And the
Right.
double broker the double broker, what's the double broker gonna do? He can't go after him. He could put a
Yeah.
freight guard for him, but it's a double broker. They don't really
There's
care.
a ton of scams in this industry, and
It's
being
literally a
like
scam. Yeah.
doing due diligence is the most important aspect because I get messages all the time on Instagram where there's other people, scammers impersonating brokerages, and you look at the email address, and it's like if you look at like it would be like beardownlogistics.com, and the scammer would have beardownlogisticsinc.com, and they're just impersonating you because they got your packet. They bought the domain beardownlogisticsinc.com, and they're, people when they're booking the load, they won't even realize that there's an INC at the end of that email domain, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
scammers are working. And then they have it's an awful situation, but doing due diligence, and there's actually companies out there like Highway is a new one. I'm not sure if you're using them, but they're really good at helping you kind of like get rid of like the scammers. And same with like just a Carrier 411. And if you ever wanted to, I've used to use Carrier 411 all the time. I know everything that you have to look at into a company before you work with them, and being due diligent on with carriers that you work with. Same with brokers for trucking companies, will save you so
Yeah.
much money and so many headaches because there's so many
There's
scams.
there's there's definitely a lot of scams going on. What I actually wanted to ask you, how so since you started your brokerage, how do you do direct pay, or how do you go through a factoring company, or how do you like deal with that? Because I'm like looking right, and since you're a new company, I feel like not every factoring company wants to work with you, so it's pretty tough.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with that, and how do you find carriers that are willing to to work with you instead of like, because for us, we kind of have to strictly go with whatever, just like what Paul is talking about, just to cover our asses, we strictly have to go whoever is approved on our factoring list. So how do you deal with that from your side?
Yeah, and that was the biggest obstacle when we first got started, right? Is, hey, nobody wants to work with you because you're new. So
Yeah.
we do have a factoring company. And what we did is for every carrier that said, hey, we can't work with you, our factoring company don't work with you, we started reaching out to those factoring companies and saying, hey, we are set up with eCapital. We don't even pay our own bills. eCapital does that. What can we do to get over this hurdle? And to our surprise, factoring companies like, okay, well, we'll give you a shot, and
Yeah.
based on how you guys pay, we'll increase your credit. But some of them just said flat out, you got to be here for a year before we even give you a shot. So that it is what it is. And then you got some carriers, they're hungry, man. And if
Yeah.
their factoring company say we won't work with you, we'll tell them like, look, man, we understand we're new. That's why the factoring company is not working with us. Not because we did anything wrong. Go ahead and research us. We're just new. But what we can do is we'll pay you quick pay just like your factoring company would. We charge a 3% charge on that, and we'll have it to you within 48 hours, just like your factoring company would. So if those terms are good with you, we'll still like to work with you. And, some 75% of the time, they would say yes. The other 25% of the times, like you, Bob, you have to strictly go off of what
Yeah.
they're saying. And they was like, man, I wish I could. You sound like you're a good
Yeah.
dude, but just can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
No, for sure.
Um,
Have you ever done, so we've done it before where it's like a 50-50, 50 upfront and 50 on
Done that.
oh
proof of
yeah,
the proof of delivery. Have you ever done something like that just to get a load moved, or no?
Man, I did too much of that at the beginning.
same
Yeah.
here.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, to the point it started getting scary because that's money out of the account, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and we did so much of it that I had to tell my carrier rep, I was like, yo, absolutely last. That's the
Resort.
last thing we want to pitch because we were depleting a lot of our
Yeah.
funds,
Yeah.
to do that. And you don't want to go bankrupt paying carriers, and then you got to wait for your money to come back through.
Yeah.
So it worked out. We're almost at that point now where we're a year old without MC, so all of that stuff should just fall to the wayside. But right now we're not even getting a lot of carriers that's rejecting us because we haven't been in for over a year, because we talked to a lot of those different
Yeah.
companies, and
Sure.
we've built up that reputation that okay, they do pay. We don't have to worry about them. We increased their credit limit from $2,000, and now they can book up to $10,000 worth of loads before we reach our credit limit.
Definitely. Desmond, I have a question. This is more of a personal question, but I think a lot of listeners will be interested in this. What does your morning routine look like, and how does overall your schedule look like in terms of like your diet, your exercising? How do you fit that into your schedule? How do you stay motivated, disciplined? This is kind of like a loaded question, but I want to hear it from you. Like, do you like listen to podcasts? Do you read books? Kind of give us a breakdown of how your life looks like for like on a daily basis.
Yeah. So the most amazing thing happened to me this morning. Right, I slept in to 7 a.m. and it
I do that
was
every morning.
listen, it's the first time I slept in on a weekday to 7 a.m. in probably 6 to 7 months.
Oh wow.
Like I can't sleep like that because I'm always thinking, all right, what do I got to do tomorrow? Okay, what's that opportunity? What I got to tell the guys at the office to make sure that they got everything. Like it's always going right. So 2 or 3 nights out of the week, I'll wake up. I go to sleep early, like 9:30, 10, but
Okay.
then I'm up at 2:30, right? And
Two
I can't
thirty.
go to 2:30. You heard me. 2:30, 3
Wow.
o'clock. I'm up 2 or 3 nights out of the week. I'm up at 2:30, 3 o'clock. The other two or 3 nights, I'm up at 4:30, 5 o'clock. That's like the normal time.
Okay.
Wow.
Um, and I'm working, and then sometimes I just be like, I'm wide awake. I might as well just go in the office. It's 3:30. It's 4 o'clock. But then
Sheesh.
I at 6:30 I go and work out in the mornings at
Okay.
6:30, and then shower and come back, and then now I'm ready for the work day at 8 o'clock with the rest of the guys. That's usually that 2:30, 3 o'clock. It comes and goes throughout the week. Like I say, I may wake up at 4:30 or 5, but I'm in the office by like 5:30, 6 o'clock every morning.
Okay.
Um, and then I'm working out at 6:30. Then I'm coming back over at 8 o'clock, and luckily my gym is like literally a block away from the office. And now I'm back and I'm in the office at 8. I rarely eat breakfast
Okay.
in the mornings, but I have to get my workouts in every week because I feel like that is the hardest part of the day for me. And mentally, I get kind of revved up with my workouts, and I feel like I've knocked out the toughest part of the day. So now the rest of the day is downhill.
So you do
And that's
workouts in the morning, right?
say that again.
You do workouts in the morning?
Yeah, yeah,
Every
6:30,
morning.
6:30 in the morning. Not every
Oh
morning.
wow.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. 3 to 4 times a week during the
Okay.
weekdays. I may get one in on the weekend, but at least three, but
Hmm.
usually no more than four during the
Okay.
week during the weekdays.
Well, okay.
Um, some of those days I try to read as much as possible. I'm not gonna say I don't have enough time to read because you make time for things that's priority.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of times when I'm up, I will create that 30 minutes to an hour to read. If I'm not reading, especially when I was strictly just doing motivation and inspirational speaking, if I'm not reading, I'm not generating ideas. And now in this space that I'm in now, my primary focus is on logistics and bear down logistics. If I'm not reading, I'm not making myself better. Outside of the everyday processes that we do, I'm not making myself better in any way if I'm not reading. So I have to read. I have to, and this is what I think about reading, right? How much would you pay Elon Musk to sit down and have a conversation with him if you're into something that he's doing? Like if you're into space rockets, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to sit
Yeah.
down, you want to talk to Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
How much would that cost you? More than probably what you're willing to pay. But
Right.
you can go and buy a $25 book of his that he put all of his thoughts in, and it
Yeah.
only costs you $25.
Yeah.
And that's like sitting down and having an interview with Elon Musk,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
John Maxwell is one of the leaders that I look at for leadership in that in that space of leadership. Well, I can go to a John Maxwell conference and I'm probably going to pay $3,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
can go pick up 20 of his books that cost $25. And I'm going to get the same information that going to his conferences. And I'm sure you probably charge 25 to $100,000 to get a one-on-one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's how I value that time reading. That, man, I'm actually sitting down and having a, like, all of that information is being downloaded into the book, and I have access to all of that. I have access to the person now.
Yeah, it's a great mindset to have. Like, it makes you think like, oh, I'm gonna go have a meeting with Elon Musk, but it's like really just picking up a book. But if you tell your mind like I'm meeting Elon Musk right now, like it kind of like it's even like more motivating to go and read it, like
Right.
to make that be a habit. Can you tell us a little bit about your diet? I know this is kind of off topic, but I'm curious, like, what do you eat to like be energized and have the energy throughout the day? Because I kind of like, sometimes I'll eat something and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that because now my sugar levels are high and I'm about to crash. What are you doing? Like, I know you've probably had your whole entire life. What are you eating? How do you stay energized?
My diet is not something that I focus on a lot. Just
Okay.
I more so work out on a consistent basis. My diet comes and goes. Like
Okay.
when I'm picking up a little bit of weight, and I need to get more focused, if I'm feeling lethargic,
Mm-hmm.
I'll cut out all sugars. I'll cut out all not carbs, but like pastas,
Sure.
rice. I'll cut out all snack foods. I'll cut out all alcohol, and I'll do
Hmm.
that for like 30 days, and it's like a reset for me. Um, my metabolism picks up. I end up shedding whatever few pounds I need to shed, but then I feel like I get more mentally focused. And I think the biggest thing of all of that, what I just said, is like the junk food and the sugar and the
Mm-hmm.
alcohol. Cutting out the junk food, the sugar, and the alcohol does wonders. I
Sure.
mean,
Yeah.
wonders for me.
Yeah.
And sugar is in everything, so it's so hard to cut it out. But when I do go on my resets and I do that, I feel like, okay, now I'm back to like that 100% guy. Thinking sharply. I'm sleeping better. It just brings back that energy for me.
Sure. Sure.
Yes.
Do you take cold showers or like?
I've tried, man. I've
Yeah.
tried. Matter of fact, I tried last week.
Okay.
And I was just like, this I
Not
want
for
to
me, huh?
I've been doing it lately. I mean, I actually do it. I've been doing consistently, like on and off for like a while now. And like, I don't know, like typically, like if it's after the gym, it wakes me up and I'm like ready to go. I'm like, a lot
Yeah.
more energized,
I feel like after the gym, it's easier because your body's more like,
heated,
warmed
and
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Or
for
you could
sure.
usually just like turn it from hot to cold. That's what I'll usually do, but I never just take it cold, cold.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
I take your word for it because I've tried it out different occasions at different times. Like I said, I actually tried it last week, and I'm like, nah, let me turn this up. Turn that heat up.
Sure, sure. So I think we should start wrapping up a little bit, Desmond. It's been a great interview. I do want to actually ask you just real quick, what are your future plans for Bear Down Logistics? And how do you see like maybe the logistics industry evolving throughout the years? And then a little final question on that. What is your favorite memory from the NFL? And just, yeah, we'll go from
Yeah.
there.
So when I came into this into logistics, I put a goal out that I wanted to be at $100 million of revenue within 5 years. Why? Why that? Because I learned that the kind of the standard profit margin is 15%, right? So
Mm-hmm.
15% of 100 million is 15 million. Um, when I was playing ball, I made $15 million over those 12 years. But early on in my career, I always said that once I get done playing ball, I'll make more money playing ball. I'll make more money outside of playing football than I made playing football. So
Mhm.
that's how that goal kind of came about, of that 5 year, 100 million in revenue. And, being around that 15% mark, I will have now, so, made more over time in logistics than playing football. So that's a monetary goal that I have. As far as the evolution of this industry, I think just like everything else, is going to come down to technology. Like, where's technology taking everything? Is taking it all into automation. And even with automation, you still got to have the people behind the automation, right? You got to have the people that's driving the automation. It's never going to be a world where automation takes over, because automation is programmed by people. So I think that's where it's going. And I think for you to be the most efficient and effective, you're going to have that technology that allows you to be as automated as you can be. So I believe that's where it's going. That's one of the reasons that I like Alvis as a TMS, because they offer a lot of automated features. And you asked me about my best moment playing football. It had to be when I was coming out of that tunnel for the Super Bowl down in Miami, Florida, playing in my home state, and coming out of that tunnel, being introduced as the NFC champion Chicago Bears, and seeing all of those flashlights and light bulbs, and people with their camera phones, that, man, that was something that it really did take my breath away.
I remember that game so well. I was 13, sitting on the couch with my Bears shirt on in Chicago. Great memory.
Really? Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't win it, but we were there.
Yeah. That first play with Devin, Hester just ran it all the way, to the touchdown. It was unbelievable. I remember I got on the couch and started like screaming and everything. It was unbelievable, the emotions there. Wow. But I mean, still, what a feat, like to be able to be in the NFL for 12 years, be in the Super Bowl, and now in the logistics world. So this is so cool. Like, you're
gonna kill it. You're gonna kill it. Just do what you're doing. I feel like, and have those goals. And I feel like, you could definitely hit 100 million if you're already, have this stuff in place. I think it's definitely doable. We just all got to wait for the market to flip or something to happen,
and it will.
And it's gonna happen. Yeah, it's gonna happen sooner or later. So we just got to survive through these times, And let the people that are not motivated give up first,
And here's a great part about me getting in at the time that I got in, right? Because they said this is like, man, we're at a low.
Yeah.
And I'm coming in at the low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're thriving in the low. So when it turns, we should be in perfect position, right?
Yeah.
Because if this is low and we could do well in the low, we should dominate in the high times.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're hoping for too, and hopefully that happens sooner than later. But yeah.
Desmond, to your point, like I was talking to Santosh Sankar, who's a managing partner, the founder of Dynamo Ventures. They do a lot of investing in supply chain. And he actually brought the same up point where it's like, I was asking him about being a downturn market, like, how do you do your investing? And he's like, if you find companies and people that will do well in this market, then when the hot market returns, then, that's where like everyone's going to be, really, celebrating and being successful. But you can't do that in the reverse. If you start in the hot market, you don't know if you're going to be able to replicate that success in a down market, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a great point. And he just released a clip last week from our conversation. He was actually talking about that. So
put if you will,
mm-hmm.
put me in contact with that guy. And I don't want to ask him for any money or anything like that.
Sure.
But I just want to understand from his point of view,
Definitely.
what makes a company look like it's ready to be sold, like they'll buy it because A, B, C, and D. Because that's where I'm trying to go with this company. Not necessarily that I want to sell, but I want to have that mindset of, hey, if I did want to, here's the things that I need to have in place.
Sure. You got to reverse engineer it. Start from
exactly.
that. Yeah. Real quick, last question. I'm not sure if Bob might have anything. 3 favorite books that every business owner or leader should read.
One is Five Dysfunctions of a Team by Patrick Lencioni, especially if you say leaders, right?
Leaders or business owners. Yeah, like in that
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's definitely one. Man, now you put me on the spot. I've read so many good books, but I don't necessarily remember all the names of them.
No worries. Any book that's been really good or that's stuck out?
Yeah, so man, it's Bill Walsh's book.
Okay.
And I can't think of the name of it, but Bill Walsh wrote a book about his time with the San Francisco 49ers.
Okay.
And man, in that book, it talks so much about how to build a great leader and how to build the right culture, and how he was able to turn at the time the most losingest franchise around and make it into a perennial champion. Like I think he won 4 championships in 10 years, and he
Oh,
came in with the worst team in the NFL by far. Um, I would definitely say that book is one. And then it's a book that I read about. It was written by the founder of EO Entrepreneurs Organization. Oh,
Mm-hmm. What's it?
Scaling
scale
Up.
it up,
Yeah,
scaling up.
it's a book that really teaches you how to scale your business.
Great.
Nice.
Awesome.
Great. And another, I guess, question is how can people get in contact with you, and what's the best way to reach you out if they need to ship some freight or just talk to you?
Yeah, so after Bob helps me with my Instagram and gets me up to 100K, you can definitely reach me at Instagram at Des Clark 88. That's DEZCLARK 88. As far as any shippers out there, or any carriers out there that would like to connect, you can definitely go to our website. Don't get it confused with Bear Down Logistics up in Chicago. I am the real Bear Down Logistics. They don't have a Chicago Bear that's running that company. So we are Bear Down logistics.com. And my email is Desmond, DESMOND, at bear down logistics. And you can always reach me at the office at 407-494-3954 at any time. Hey, and let's not just talk logistics all the time. I'm also interested in people and how we can make each other better. And I hope we had an opportunity to make you better here. And when I say we, I'm talking about us three, making other
Yeah.
people
Definitely.
listening to this. So I hope we was
Yeah.
able to accomplish that.
Desmond, I really appreciate your
Great.
time. That was great. Really enjoyed this. And real quick, will you be at the TIA conference in Orlando in April? Because it's like the freight broker conference. Do you plan on attending?
Yeah, so I just learned about that one actually today.
Oh, no way.
Um,
Okay.
I was reaching out to a bunch of people that Alva's connected me to. And I was like,
Yeah.
where do I need to be? Because one of my marketing things is to be at a conference once a month. And they
Sure.
told me about the TIA conference that's coming up.
Yeah.
I'm right in Orlando. It's going to be like literally like
Would
3 or 4 months
you
from where I live.
Would you want to speak there? Because I could connect you with the people. Because I know I was just talking with their coordinators because they're giving me a media pass to go there, so I'll be there.
I would
Uh,
love to speak there.
yeah. Okay. I'll get you connected on the email. I'll connect you too with the TIA people. I'll send an email right now. I
Okay.
think it would be amazing to have you speak there. It'd be really great.
Oh, dude, you do that, I owe you big time, man. I love the whole being on stage and just sharing the knowledge and sharing the experiences, man.
Awesome.
Bob, and I'm gonna go back to you with this one. Bob, dude, you run like how many trucks do you have, Bob?
We got about 15 that we're running right now.
Bob, you are so amazing and you don't even know it. Like your experience, no, I'm being dead ass serious. Your experiences and the stuff that you've done over the course of time is extraordinary. And I've only been knowing you for a hour,
An
right?
hour, yeah.
But I
Yeah.
can tell you already, share those experiences, man. Not just the good, share the good, the bad, and the
Yeah.
ugly, man. Because when you bring all of that out, man, you're
Yeah.
gonna help somebody. And there's gonna be so many people interested in your story and the inspiration that is going to provide for not just people in this industry, just overall, man. Like your story is no
Yeah.
different from somebody sharing a sports stories. And I know you had up and downs, right?
Yeah.
man, go out, man, and share that
I
stuff.
appreciate that. I will try
And,
to. Yeah.
and it doesn't have to be something that's all scripted and all of that. Man,
Yeah.
speak from the heart and speaking authentically. Just being here with you for this hour, I know you have that in you, and you want to talk about a way to build your company, dude.
Yeah.
You're the marketing.
No,
It's you. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll
totally.
try. We'll try.
It's true.
All
It's
right.
true.
Sounds good. Yeah, it was
Um,
nice meeting you. It was definitely this was a good podcast. This was
it's been
definitely good.
amazing.
It was longer too, but yeah.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Freight Caviar podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, or if you didn't, leave a review. Let me know what you think. I appreciate any feedback. If you'd like to have more Freight Caviar content, go to freightcaviar.com and subscribe to my email newsletter.